So we are using themes that are connected to all of the centers for spiritual living. So the February theme is oneness, and today's lesson title is recognition of shared humanity. How serendipitous. And I'd like to change that. It's not just the recognition, because that's almost like being outside. It's the connection, being inside, being connected with one another. I'm going to speak to my experience at the Landmark Forum. There were only a few brave souls who went with me. Connie Asquith, Reverend Terry Lurch, Jasper Lurch, and Hazel Rodriguez. And for some of you, you may have heard some of this before, but now I get to speak it first person in my own experience. Many of you know I work for the California State University, so it's education. And education traditionally is via speaking, language, words, connection, that way. But in information, it's bringing in through our mind. And I could speak for an hour, but we all know that as you walk out the door, if I asked you to repeat what I said, how much do you think you'd be able to remember? Yeah, there's a percentage. I don't remember what it is, but it's a small percentage. Now, I have an example of this when I was at the Paradise Performing Arts Center. I was going to need to go from the sound booth to the stage and back to the sound booth. And of course, I've been there once before seeing a production, but I didn't know the ins and outs of the building. So I said to the building manager, so what's my best way to get down there? Well, you go down the stairs, you turn right, and then you make a left, and then you make another left, and then, and I'm like, okay. Will you walk me through that? Yes. Beautiful. What do you think happened after he walked me through it? Did I get it? Yes. Experiential learning. Experiential learning. And that's what Landmark claims they are. Not just informational, but transformational. And they actually say that they're a learning technology. Now, there's no technology involved. They just have taken what we know in science about how we learn, and I just demonstrated that through that example. When we experience something, it sticks with us more than recalling it from our memory through the information. So it's very difficult in less than 20 minutes to speak about a 5-day seminar. And Friday, Saturday, and Sunday was from 9 a.m. in the morning till 10 p.m. at night. Intensive, okay? Then Monday you live your life with a whole new view of life. And then you live your Tuesday, and on Tuesday night you come back together for reflection with one another. So I may say 3 days, I may say 5 days. But do you understand that what I'm going to say today is not the same as the experience? Yeah. And you're still going to make concepts out of what I say. And because we are who we are as humans, you're going to judge and evaluate and have a whole lot of mind chatter going on. Because that's what happens to us. But I'm going to say to you ultimately, what's my summary from Sunday night? Profound. Just wow. So I'm going to say to you, just do it. The famous Nike term. What Landmark talks about is they're really not religious. They don't put out any spiritual or religious terms. But I have a wonderful little comic here with Jesus and a whole bunch of scholars with books in their hands. And Jesus says, the difference between me and you is you use Scripture to determine what love means, and I use love to determine what Scripture means. Spirituality. Landmark will tell you that what you're learning is how to be a human again. Being human. Now, if you've been in Science of Mind, you understand that we always say we are spiritual beings having a human experience. So it's not difficult, and I'll share with you some more, but the clearing field for me, yes, I have studied Science of Mind for 25 to 30 years, but wow, this experience created a new clearing field, and it's incredible. Landmark will say they're ontological. Now, what is the definition of ontological? Relating to the branch of metaphysics dealing with the nature of being. Are we in alignment? Does that sound familiar? It is not foreign. So why would you go? I'll get to that. Fill in the sentence. In the beginning. Okay, yeah. And in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, with God, you're right. And the Word was God. Yeah, that's an intellectual bite to chew, right? Wow, I have a whole new meaning after the forum. Wow. You know, our Science of Mind principles, yes, they teach us to watch what you think and what you say. Why? You're creating in every second. And for many of us, that means learning a new vocabulary. I remember taking Science of Mind classes and putting a whole bunch of adjectives on the left and a whole bunch of nouns on the right. Infinite, beloved, divine. I mean, just all these adjectives. And then on the right side, you know, love, peace, power, beauty, joy. Because I wanted to immerse myself in the essence of I am the face of God. How do I embody that? Well, to me, it was like studying, right? Some of us don't like to study, right? I know a few of you. I mean, you really get out of our Science of Mind classes what you put into it. And if you really just show up to class, it's good, because you get a layer and you start to get language. But it may not be as transformational for you until you put yourself into it. Well, Landmark Forum for me made understanding that in the beginning was the Word much more vivid, very palpable, deeper to my core. So I have this little picture that has, when I'm communicating, I have the intentions in my beingness, you know, my spirit, my heart, and it bubbles up to create words, and the words then go through my brain, and then I speak words to you, and then you take it into your brain, and of course we both have filters, and as you take it into your brain, thank you, Sharon, then it goes down into her heart, and we connect. I would say that in the forum, yes, there are words, but the love in the room was palpable. The connection. Because there's a lot of stuff in the way, including words and concepts and stories and mind chatter and judgments and evaluation and assessment and, you know, do I agree, do I disagree? Yes, no, right, wrong. Always going on in our mind. And the forum, there was a quote that says, actually gives people the gift of their humanity. Wow. Wow. Isn't that what we're about? The fact is that things happen in our past. They happen. And we talk about this in Science of Mind, but when we carry our story forward, the past is the past. We know we can't change it. It is what it is. And yet we put a story around it and wrap our emotions in that based on the story we have. And you might say, yeah, but that was my experience. Yep, it was. Your parents didn't do what they didn't do, and they did what they did. And it may have hurt you. It may have depleted you. It may have weakened you. It may have made you a victim at that point in time because you weren't mature enough to be able to defend yourself. But the past is the past. And when we realize that as we carry that story forward, we're literally carrying that energy with us, weighing us down. So for those of you who know me, give me a word or a short phrase to describe Kathy Fernandes. What did you say? Loving, thank you.
Dynamic.
Energetic, dynamic. Passionate.
Tenacious.
Tenacious. You're going to love what I'm going to come up with. Remember that you said that. Yes.
I missed. What did you love?
Tenacious.
Oh, tenacious, yeah.
You know,
Dedicated.
dedicated.
Articulate.
Inclusive. A minister. Family. Friendly. So what if I said to you, I didn't realize how dead I was until after the Landmark Forum? My heart is beating so fast right now. I can hear it in my ears. I am on fire. I know that's a bad pun right now. Although I did have a rental that burned in the fire. So I changed the words to, I am rising in my power. The people who really took in the concepts of the forum into their life, and of course there are people who are hesitant. There is fear, there is trepidation, there is but. Some of the first things that they dive into, and many of us here would say, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. They redefine concepts about being honest and transparent and authentic. You know what you hear later, though, is people saying, I feel so much lighter. I feel more myself than I have for a very long time. Wow, what's happening? I can tell you metaphysically that I was a witness to people healing in those 3 days. That's part of my purpose here on earth, and to watch that and feel that and see that, incredible. People becoming whole, and I will tell you as a metaphysician, avoiding future illness because of what they were holding. A gentleman who simply went up to ask a question in the microphone was questioning what is he supposed to do with his feelings when he had been beaten by his father. How could he let that go? He ended up turning his back and just releasing so much by the process. And you know what he said on the last night? I've probably kissed my wife for the first time since my wedding, 14 years ago. I don't see her as a robot anymore, but as a human being. Being. I can be with my kids, not repeating my father's ways of being. Now, he was clear, I don't beat my kids, but my way of being, there were things in the way of being with my kids. And his kids mean the world to him. Another person said, I'm no longer choosing from fear. I'm living in each moment clear that I am choosing to create in this moment now. Does that sound like science of mind? Another one said, I am so much lighter, and people are now interacting with me differently. Imagine that. Do you think all those other people changed? He wasn't talking about people in the forum. He was talking about his family was interacting with him differently. And Tia, an African-American woman who shared how fear drove her every decision. She wouldn't go on vacation because she was afraid of what happened. She wouldn't let her kids go places because she was afraid of what would happen. She wouldn't let her kids wear certain clothes because she was afraid of what would happen. And she basically came down and said, I have discovered freedom and liberation. And if you don't believe me and you think it was just that one session, we have several people who've gone through the Landmark Forum who can speak to the experiences that they too have gone through. So, do these stack of books look familiar? Just a hint, this was our bookmark for 2018. And can I have a show of hands? How many read every book? Just a few of us. The bookheads, right, Johnny? Now, how many hours do you think that takes to read all those? A lot. How much do you think I remembered? And I did do some of the exercises in the books. But of course they were self-led. I experienced them mostly myself unless I shared with others. It's a very different kind of learning. And Johnny and I are on a mission to, for Centers for Spiritual Living, the kind of learning we want people to do is this, like Landmark Forum. If they can get clear on Landmark Forum, then what we have to add is just the cherries on top. Really, it's more of a foundation, but the point being that the transformational learning that happens, it may take us 2 years of science of mind, reading books and doing exercises, but wow, you can get it experientially very clearly. And then have us as a community to support one another once you leave the forum. So, many of you are probably saying, yeah, I know. Yeah, I've done that. Yeah, I've worked on myself. I've done my spiritual practice. I already know it. One of the things, Landmark, and I'm going to add to it a little bit, they talk about, you got this huge pie, and you got a little slice of things that says, this is what I know. And it's a small slice, right? I mean, we don't know everything there is. I mean, just be at a university and talk to the professors. You'll find out what you don't know. And of course, we all know that there's things we don't know. I know I'm not an airline pilot, and I would not fly a plane. I know I'm not a surgeon, and I would not go into surgery. Yeah. But I know I don't know, don't I? But you don't know what you don't know. And I think as adults, at least I'll speak for myself, the older we get, the more experienced are, the more we know. And more that we know we don't know. You're still knowing that you don't know. But your blind spot for unlimited possibilities and potential are the things you don't know you don't know. And Mr. Wonderman here has it right in that as a kid, talk to my mom, the Landmark asks you to they make suggestions. Yeah, call your family and ask, what was I like as a child? My mom said, smart. Matter of fact, unfortunately, I set a precedent for my brother and sister, and they didn't live up to that. Now, it's not said that way. My sister was a chiropractor, and my brother is an award-winning jeweler around the world. They had their unique gifts to give the world that were not my gifts. She's clear about that. But the point is, I set an expectation. And your life experience sets an expectation. You expect that your mother will be your parent, and maybe she wasn't. You expect your father to be there to support you, and maybe he wasn't. And your pain is because you're expecting what should have been. Keep sticking that knife in. Should have been. But you can transform that because you are deeper than that. There is a part of you that is so deep, full of love, that it doesn't matter what somebody does to you, and many of you who are parents understand this. You will love your child to the very end. It matters not what they have done, because you know who they truly are. You truly are love, and love can dissolve pain, and love can heal. And it's okay if you haven't gotten there yet, because that's why we're here, to learn that. So tenacious. My mom also told me I was stubborn. And I just said to her, well, that's your Swiss German genes. I didn't really say that. I have had a couple men in business called me aggressive. And I kindly said to them, you mean assertive? Because I certainly didn't attack you. And I usually speak kindly. So what is it about me that makes you think I'm aggressive? I'll tell you, I think it's an expectation of who I am as a woman, right? I mean, that's my story. Maybe not yours, but that's mine. And I have said to my mom before, yes, I'm assertive and persistent, and it's my winning formula. And those of you who've been through Landmark know exactly what I'm talking about. It's my winning formula. Okay, I need to come to the end, but I don't want to. I have so much more to share, and I'm excited about it. And how many of you have read the Celestine Prophecy? You understand that things are not coincidences and there are synchronicities. I may even have a guest on streaming today, because I was at a business conference last week, and I'm telling you, the coincidences and the synchronicities are just coming at me constantly. I just feel like, wow, the whole field of being has been opened, and it's just amazing what is unfolding. And so I'm at this CSU conference, and I'm supposed to go out to dinner with somebody else, but that gets canceled, so I have an unplanned dinner with 5 guys who started or are in business. And I end up driving some of them, and they're a little different because they ask deep questions. They're not the typical sales, how you doing? And the first question is, so, what do you love to do outside of work? Okay, we're in education, you get that? I say, well, I am the director, spiritual director of the Center for Spiritual Living, Chico. Well, of course, that just leads to more questions, right? And pretty soon we're on a roll, and I say something about we're descendants of the Transcendentalists, and he lit up. I have studied the Transcendentalists. So pretty soon we're talking back and forth. He already bought an Ernest Holmes book. We talk about shared common podcasts and blogs and authors. And I'm like, do you know who you are when your heart is wide open? It just glows. Do you want that? Well, how far will you go? All the way. Mr. Wonderman. When I came here in 2016 as your spiritual co-director, our theme was transformation. The following year it was inspiration. Last year it was awakening. I'm telling you, it's happening. All the prayed up, I'm prayed up. And I'm realizing from transformation, it's now transcendence. Continuing to rise up. So, has the campfire affected our community? Dumb question, right? It's never a dumb question. I'm just trying to make you take that in. Do we all have a place to heal in this disaster? Yeah. And I'll speak a little bit more about this during the annual meeting when we talk about going forward in 2019. But I'm being the rebel that I am. And I'm asking Landmark to go out of their normal ways of doing things to bring the Landmark Forum here for all of us. And it will be with the help of all the Landmark graduates who are a part of this community, and I'll be happy to even find out in Chico if there are other outside of our community who will help support this. I'm looking to write a grant to the North Valley Community Fund. Of course, I still need to continue to work the agreement out with Landmark to bring it here. Again, this is unusual. They don't usually do that. It's usually in Sacramento or San Francisco, and you have to have, well, let me put it this way. I need 100 people to sign up for the Landmark Forum. Will you help me?
Yes. Yes.
Are you committed?
Yes.
Good, because you have something under your seat. That is a registration form. There's a lot to it, but I ask that you fill it out and give it to either Crystal or I before you leave today. And we don't have a location yet, so there's a place that says, where is it here? Where the city will be. And I want you to say Campfire Chico, because Chico, you know, they may be used to the town Paradise. I mean, again, I'm talking with people in Landmark who may not be tightly connected. When we say campfire, do you mean like Boy Scout, Girl Scout, right? So, Chico Campfire. And you can say, please do not call, and you do not have to, and yes, I'm violating the rules, do anything about the money except put grant. Okay? And my job is to ask all of you to help me get a grant so that we can heal our community.
Right on.
Thank you, Denise.
Thinking outside the box.
There you go, thinking outside the box. There I go again, being assertive. Now, it's really hard to speak to an experience you haven't had yet. Meaning there's usually 80 to 100 of us in this room, but there are many more out there who are looking, and some people are not ready to heal. They are still in the grief process, and I get that. I'm thinking about this happening at the end of April. Gives people just a little bit more time, and it's right after Easter. Rise up. However, I can't guarantee that because I have to work it out with the forum to have somebody who can run the forum here during those dates and times. For those of you who want to speak to this, again, it's hard to speak to something you haven't had an experience of. This lesson, thanks to Trevor Box, will be on YouTube. Have people listen and then call us or email us to sign up. So I'm going to repeat again. I'm on fire. And our theme for 2019 is spirituality in action. And I call you all forth to be who you are, to offer your gifts, to be in service. Yesterday we had the healing services, and we pretty much rotated 7 to 10 people around to all the different healing services we offered here yesterday. And we're going to be doing more of that, and I guarantee you we're going to need more healers, and there's going to be more people coming. And so our community needs you. We need to connect. We need to serve and support, and we need to heal together. And so I thank you for that in advance. Namaste. Namaste.